All right, so welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Ah.
This time we're going to be taking a look at Jagmeet Singh
Okay.
and his leadership of the NDP.
Yeah.
We got a couple of interesting news segments here that really kind of dig into some of the criticisms
Okay.
of his leadership and his political strategy.
Yeah, I think that what's interesting to me is that it's not pulling any punches. Like, they're really going right for it.
Yeah, one of the segments even uses this term,
Right.
shoot and scoot, to
Oh.
describe his approach to politics. And they're basically saying that, he'll come out and he'll make these big attention-grabbing statements,
Right.
Like publicly criticizing Trump or, taking a strong stance on
Yeah.
India's alleged involvement in the murder of a Canadian citizen.
Okay.
But then there's not a lot of follow-through.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good point. And I think that it raises the question of whether that approach is effective.
Yeah.
Like, does it resonate with voters?
Right.
And does it translate into tangible political gains?
Yeah.
Or does it come off as sort of superficial?
Well, and especially when you look at the numbers, right? Because
Yeah.
the NDP's popularity has really taken a hit
Yeah.
under Singh's leadership.
Mm.
I mean, they went from holding 44 seats in 2015 down to just 24 in the 2021 election.
Yeah, that's a significant drop, and I think it's important to consider what factors might be contributing to that.
Right.
Is it solely attributable to Singh's leadership?
Right.
Or are there broader political trends at play? We need to look at the NDP's performance before Singh took over, the rise of other parties, and the overall political climate.
Yeah, and then you've got this whole dynamic with Justin Trudeau and the Liberals.
Yes.
The NDP has been propping up the minority Liberal government, which is
because in a minority government,
the party in power, in this case the Liberals, doesn't have a majority of the seats in Parliament.
Right.
So they need the support of other parties to pass legislation and stay in power.
Right. So the NDP has been kind of essential for Trudeau to actually govern.
Exactly. And so I think that it raises some questions about, whether this alliance, while maybe strategically beneficial in the short term, could be hurting the NDP's image in the long run.
Yeah. Are they actually being a true opposition party?
Or exactly.
Are they too closely tied to the Liberals?
Yeah, it raises questions about whether the NDP is truly advocating for its own platform and priorities, or if they're just helping the Liberals stay afloat.
And then we have all of this stuff about Singh's image.
Yes.
That these sources are bringing up. They're pointing to things like his ownership of luxury cars and watches, which some people see as clashing with his kind of socialist platform.
It's interesting because I think that this is where we get into this question of personal and the political.
Yeah.
Like, how much weight should we give to a politician's personal lifestyle choices when evaluating their political platform?
Right.
It's a question that sparks a lot of debate.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just about his lifestyle.
Right.
There's also been these accusations of hypocrisy and racism stemming from some of his past comments.
Absolutely. And I think that those are serious allegations that can't be ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. And, while it's crucial to avoid like personal attacks and focus on the substance of political discourse, these criticisms do exist.
Right. And they do have the potential to impact public perception.
Right.
We need to consider how they might be influencing voters' views of Singh and the NDP.
Especially when you have an op-ed in one of our sources that is outright calling for Singh to step down. Saying that, his leadership is steering the NDP towards political irrelevance.
It's a pretty stark assessment.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it reflects, I think, a growing sense of dissatisfaction among at least some segments of the NDP base.
For sure. And it begs the question, can the NDP recover and thrive under Singh's continued leadership?
Yeah.
Or is a change at the top necessary for the party's survival and future success?
There's definitely a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Let's dive deeper into these different aspects of Jagmeet Singh's leadership and the NDP's future prospects as we continue our deep dive.
That sounds good.
It's interesting because you mentioned the NDP's kind of historical role.
Yeah.
And these sources touch on that too. They talk about how, the party was once this really powerful voice for the working class. But now there's a sense, at least from some of these commentators, that they've kind of lost their way a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the NDP certainly has a rich history of advocating for social justice and economic equality.
Right.
I mean, they were instrumental in pushing for policies like universal health care and stronger labor rights. But the political landscape has shifted, over the decades. And so the question is, has the NDP adapted effectively to these changes?
Yeah, have they managed to
stay relevant to the concerns of everyday Canadians?
Right.
Or have they become too focused on sort of niche issues that don't resonate with a broader audience?
And how much of that perceived shift, if it exists, is tied to Singh's leadership? Right? Because it's tough to separate the leader from the party, especially when they've been in charge for a while.
Absolutely. And I think that Singh's personality and leadership style have undoubtedly shaped the NDP's direction since he took over. But it would be unfair to place all of the blame or credit on him. I mean, we also have to acknowledge the broader political context, you know, things like the rise of populism, the changing demographics of the electorate, and the increasing influence of social media. I mean, all of these factors have reshaped the political playing field, and all parties have had to adjust.
So with all of these factors kind of swirling around, what does the future hold for Jagmeet Singh and the NDP? I mean, can they find a path back to relevance?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard to predict the future of any political party, especially in such unpredictable times. But I think that one thing's for sure, Singh faces a real challenge. You know, he needs to connect with voters in a meaningful way. He needs to articulate a clear and compelling vision for the future. And he needs to differentiate the NDP from the other parties vying for those same votes.
And it seems like from what these sources are saying, he hasn't quite managed to do that yet. I mean, they keep bringing up that
that shoot and scoot style.
Shoot and scoot style again. And they're basically arguing that it shows that he's more interested in grabbing headlines than actually making real lasting change.
I think there's always a risk of oversimplifying complex political strategies. But it's clear that Singh's approach has been divisive. Some people find it bold and refreshing. Others see it as superficial and ineffective. Only time will tell whether it will prove successful in the long run.
And then, of course, there's the issue of these allegations of hypocrisy about his lifestyle. It's one thing to advocate for social justice and economic equality, but it's quite another to be seen as, living this life of privilege that seems out of touch with the struggles of many Canadians.
The optics are definitely a challenge. And in the age of social media, where perceptions can often overshadow reality, those optics can be incredibly damaging.
We've talked about, Singh's strategies, the NDP's declining popularity, the challenge he faces. But what about the man himself? Like, what kind of leader is he?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer definitively. He's been praised for his charisma, his ability to connect with younger voters, and his, genuine commitment to social justice causes. But he's also been criticized for his lack of experience, his sometimes impulsive decision-making, and a tendency to prioritize style over substance.
So a bit of a mixed bag then.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the sources don't shy away from presenting both the positive and the negative aspects of his leadership.
It's important to consider multiple perspectives, I think, when evaluating any political figure.
Absolutely. No one is perfect. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. It's up to each individual to weigh those factors and form their own opinion.
So with all these challenges and criticisms kind of swirling around him, can Singh really lead the NDP to a brighter future? Or is his time at the helm coming to an end?
Those are the very questions that we'll be exploring as we move into the final part of our deep dive. We'll delve deeper into the potential scenarios for the NDP's future and examine what a leadership change might mean for the party.
So we've spent a lot of time kind of dissecting the criticisms of Singh's leadership and the NDP's struggles.
But
what about the future?
Yeah.
Like, what are the potential scenarios?
Well, I think the most immediate question is, what happens if Singh stays on as leader?
Right.
Can he turn things around? Or has too much damage been done?
Because it seems like from these sources, they're not painting a very optimistic picture. I mean, they're pointing to the dwindling seat numbers.
Yeah.
The perception that he's lost touch with the working class, and these lingering questions about his authenticity.
It's definitely a steep uphill battle, I think.
Yeah.
To regain momentum, Singh would need to do a few things. First, articulate a crystal clear vision for the NDP that resonates with a broader base of Canadians.
Right.
What does the NDP stand for in today's world?
Yeah.
How will they address the issues that matter most to voters?
Right.
He needs to answer those questions convincingly.
And he can't shy away from those concerns about his leadership style either. Like, these sources are highlighting this perceived gap between his words and his actions. He's got a demonstrated commitment to substance over style.
Yeah.
To proving that he can actually deliver on his promises.
And I think perhaps most importantly, he needs to clearly differentiate the NDP from the Liberals.
Right.
Right now, as we've discussed, they're seen as too cozy, and that blurs the lines for voters.
Right. Why should someone vote NDP when they're essentially propping up
the
Liberal government?
Yeah.
So let's flip the script.
Okay.
Let's say Singh steps down, or the party decides to move in a different direction.
Right.
What happens then?
Well, that opens up a whole new set of possibilities.
Yeah.
The NEP has a pretty deep bench of talented individuals.
Right.
But they represent different factions within the party.
Right.
Which makes things interesting.
Yeah, you've got like the pragmatists who believe in working within the system to achieve incremental change.
Yeah.
And then you've got like the idealists.
Right.
Who want to stick to those socialist roots and push for more radical reforms.
Exactly. And then there's always the wild card.
Yeah.
The dark horse candidate who emerges from left field.
Yeah.
Someone who can maybe bridge those divides within the party and chart a new course.
So it sounds like the NDP's future is very much up in the air.
It is.
A lot hinges on the choices they make in the coming months and years.
Absolutely. They're at a crossroads. Will they try to recapture the past, or will they embrace a new direction?
Yeah.
Will they break free from the Liberals and assert their independence?
Right.
These are the questions that will determine the party's fate and their role in the future of Canadian politics.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Jagmeet Singh and the NDP. We've examined the challenges, the criticisms, and the potential paths forward.
We have. And now we want to leave you
Yeah.
with a final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Based on what we've learned about Singh and the NDP, what qualities do you believe are most important
Right.
in a political leader?
Okay.
And thinking about those qualities, where does Singh stand in your own assessment?
It's a good question for everyone to think about.
It is. And we encourage you to reflect on these questions.
Yeah.
And to continue to engage in thoughtful discussions
Absolutely.
about Canadian politics and the kind of leadership that you want to see.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.